Yeah, obviously got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me. Honestly, I felt like I got good shots. They just didn't go down, and obviously a tough time for that to happen.
You won't believe what's going down in the WNBA right now. Dijonai Carrington's social media just exploded with some wild stuff about Caitlin Clark. We're talking eye pokes, racial tension, and a whole lot of drama. What's really going on between these two stars? Picture this. It's a high-stakes playoff game. The tension's so thick you could cut it with a knife. Suddenly, bam! Carrington's hand connects with Clark's face, and everyone loses their minds. Clark's got a black eye, and the whole WNBA is in an uproar. You know what's crazier? This isn't just about basketball anymore. It's like someone lit a match and threw it into a powder keg. Now we've got fans taking sides, players speaking out, and even talks about boycotts. Is this the drama that's gonna tear the WNBA apart? But wait, there's more. This isn't just about one accidental poke. We're talking racial tensions, ethics in sports, and social media gone wild. Are you ready to dive into the mess that's threatening to change women's basketball forever? Remember when trash talk stayed on the court? Well, Dijonai Carrington just rewrote that playbook. Her social media exploded with posts about Caitlin Clark that are making people question if there's more than just competitive spirit at play.
Caitlin, could you tell us a little bit about your eye, the hit, if it affected you, how it affected you, and through the rest of the game?
We struggle to get stops at times, but also like the clock getting messed up. It was just one thing after the next, but yeah, overall, like it didn't bother me.
How did a few tweets and likes turn this rivalry so ugly? Let's break it down. After that eye poke incident, Carrington's social media went into overdrive. She wasn't just posting about the game, she was straight up mocking Clark's injury. Can you believe it? We're talking laughing emojis, snarky comments, the whole 9 yards. It's like she forgot she was a professional athlete for a hot minute. But wait, it gets worse. Fans and commentators started digging into Carrington's past posts, and what they found was not pretty. There were accusations flying left and right about anti-white sentiment. People were pulling up old tweets where Carrington seemed to be taking shots at Clark and her supporters. It wasn't just about basketball anymore. This thing was turning into a full-on racial debate. And you know what's wild? This wasn't even the first time Carrington had gone after Clark online.
Like I got some really good looks. I felt I had three wide open threes in the first half.
There was this whole thing before where she mocked Clark for flopping during a game. It's like there's this ongoing beef that just keeps getting spicier. Now, picture this. Right after Clark gets poked in the eye, a video surfaces of Carrington laughing it up with her teammates. People lost their minds. They were like, is she seriously celebrating Clark's injury? It was bad, real bad. But the cherry on top of this controversy Sunday, Carrington retweeted something that said, "Imagine not being black. Wow, laughing my effing ass off. Yikes." That's when things really hit the fan. People were calling for her head, saying she crossed the line from rivalry into straight up racism. What started as an on-court incident has blown up into this huge controversy about race, sportsmanship, and how athletes should behave on social media.
Better than I usually do, which is a positive, but overall, like, coach said in the locker room, like, we were down 3 the first quarter, down 5 second quarter, and then lost by 3 in the third. Like,
the WNBA's got a real mess on its hands now. Fans are divided, players are speaking out, and there's talk about whether the league needs to step in and do something. Carrington's trying to defend herself, saying people are taking things out of context. But let's be real. When you're a pro athlete, everything you post is under a microscope. And right now, that microscope is showing some pretty ugly stuff. You've got to wonder, what was she thinking? Did she not realize how this would look? Or did she just not care? Either way, it's turning what could have been a great rivalry into something that's threatening to overshadow the actual basketball. And here's the kicker. This whole social media meltdown isn't just affecting Carrington and Clark. It's got fans questioning the whole league. People are talking about boycotts. Sponsors are getting nervous. And the WNBA's reputation is taking a hit. All because of a few ill-advised posts. Amidst all this chaos, one player stayed cool as ice. Caitlin Clark's reaction to the eye poke and the social media meltdown, it's changing the game. How is Clark's composure reshaping fan loyalty and putting pressure on the WNBA to act? You'd think Clark would be firing back, right? But nope. She's out here proving that sometimes silence really is golden. While Carrington was busy setting social media on fire, Clark was keeping her cool, like a pro. She didn't just brush off the eye poke, she straight up owned it. Check this out. Clark said, "Obviously she got me pretty good in the eye. I don't think it affected me." Talk about ice in her veins. This isn't just about Clark being tough. It's about her showing everyone what real professionalism looks like. While Carrington's posts were stirring up a storm, Clark was focused on the game. She wasn't interested in getting caught up in the drama. Instead, she let her game do the talking. And you know what? Fans are eating it up. But here's where things get really interesting. Clark's composure isn't just winning her fans, it's making people question the whole league. Fans are looking at Carrington's behavior, then looking at Clark's response, and they're not happy with what they're seeing. There's talk of boycotts, people. Actual boycotts. Can you believe it? Fans are saying if the WNBA doesn't step up and do something about this kind of behavior, they're out. And it's not just the fans. Players are starting to speak out too. They're looking at Clark and thinking, that's how we should be handling ourselves. It's like Clark setting a new standard for what it means to be a pro athlete in the social media age. But hold up, it's not all sunshine and roses. This whole mess is putting a spotlight on some serious issues in the WNBA. We're talking racial tensions, sportsmanship, how athletes should behave online, the works. The league's reputation is taking a hit, and they're under pressure to do something about it. You've got to wonder, is this the wake-up call the WNBA needed? Are we about to see some big changes in how the league handles player conduct? Because right now, it's looking like business as usual isn't gonna cut it anymore. And let's talk about Clark for a second. This girl's stock is soaring. She's not just a great player anymore. She's becoming a role model. People are looking at her and thinking, that's how you handle adversity. It's like she's writing the playbook on how to be a pro athlete in 2023. But it's not just about Clark and Carrington anymore. This whole thing has blown up into something much bigger. We're seeing debates about race in sports, about how athletes should use their platforms, about what it means to be a professional in the age of social media. It's like this one incident has opened up a whole can of worms that the WNBA can't just ignore anymore. And you know what's wild? All of this is happening because of how these two players handled one incident. It just goes to show how much power athletes have these days. One post, one comment, one reaction can change everything. So where do we go from here? The ball's in the WNBA's court now. They've got to figure out how to handle this mess without alienating players or fans. It's a tightrope walk, and everyone's watching to see if they'll make it across. Just when you thought this was all about an eye poke and some tweets, things are getting way more complicated. The WNBA's got more than just player conduct to worry about now. We're talking race, media bias, and the power of social media in sports. How deep does this rabbit hole go? Let's talk about that LA Times headline that got everyone fired up. They basically suggested Carrington poked Clark's eye on purpose. Like, it was some kind of jealousy thing. People lost it. ESPN's Sarah Spain went off, saying the paper was pushing this whole black players are jealous of Clark narrative. It's like they took this accidental thing and turned it into a race issue. But here's the thing. This isn't just about one bad headline. It's shining a light on some serious stuff in women's basketball. We're seeing how the media can take a simple incident and turn it into this huge racial debate. It's like they're playing with fire and the whole WNBA could get burned. Now let's talk about Clark for a second. This girl's handling everything like a champ. After the eye poke, she was all, I don't think it affected me. I got good shots. They didn't go down. That's some serious professionalism right there. It's like she's showing everyone how to deal with this stuff. But it's not just about how players act on the court anymore. We're in this age where everything an athlete does online is under a microscope. One tweet, one like, and boom, you've got a whole controversy on your hands. It's crazy how much power these players have now. They're not just athletes anymore. They're influencers. And that's where things get tricky. These players have got to figure out how to use their platforms responsibly. It's not just about playing ball anymore. They've got to think about how everything they do affects the sport, their fans, even how people see women's basketball as a whole. But here's where it gets really interesting. This whole mess, it could actually be good for the WNBA. Yeah, you heard that right. It's forcing everyone to take a hard look at some big issues. We're talking about race in sports, how the media covers women's basketball, what it means to be a pro athlete these days. It's like this one incident opened up this whole can of worms that no one can ignore anymore. So where do we go from here? The WNBA's got some big decisions to make. They've got to figure out how to handle this stuff without making things worse. It's like they're walking a tightrope and everyone's watching to see if they'll make it across. But it's not just about the league. Every player, every fan, every person who cares about women's basketball has a part to play in this. It's like we're all in this together, trying to figure out how to make the sport better. All right, let's break this down. This whole eye poke drama isn't just about basketball anymore. It's turned into this huge thing about race, how players act online, and what it means to be a pro athlete today. The WNBA's got a real mess on their hands, and everyone's watching to see what they'll do. But here's the thing. This could actually be good for women's basketball. It's making everyone talk about some big issues that have been ignored for too long. How the media covers the sport, the pressure on players, all that stuff. So what do you think? How can we take all this drama and turn it into something positive for women's basketball? It's not just about the players and the league. We all have a part to play in this. Maybe it's time we all took a hard look at how we talk about sports and the athletes we love.